It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Jen Cohen as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Welcome to County-Wide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio with us today. Noel Fletcher, Prescott National Forest Wildlife Biologist, is back. Hello, Noel.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me.
You were just looking fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Noel is here today. We're going to talk about the bald eagles and peregrine falcons.
Yes.
We did a little story with you, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, and it's been very successful over in the Prescott area.
So much news to share about the eagles and
Right.
the peregrines. It's kind of exciting.
And you either come in prior to closures or just after the closures to kind of talk us about the bald eagles and the peregrine falcons. And let's start with the bald eagles. So this year,
So exciting.
Lynx Lake was a huge success for our eagle pair.
It was. It was really fun. The Game and Fish Department came out and they banded. They came in and banded the nestlings in the nest. And the fun part is we're just a host. They just happen to be on Forest Service land.
Sure.
And it's all the Game and Fish show. And so I don't want to steal their thunder, but we had a group of people go in and they had identified, you know, the nest tree. Everybody could see it actually from the other side of the lake.
Oh, wow, okay.
And the exciting part is the Game and Fish has all this special training and equipment. They climb the tree. And so the Game and Fish, they send one person up in climbing gear to climb up into the tree. Now, when we first get there, the adults are on the nest and they're okay with that. Once we start climbing and getting closer, and it's amazing how close you get before the adults are like, I'm out of here, and they fly away.
Oh, really? Okay, so
So
they're there, they stay.
They don't leave the territory, but they don't stay in the tree.
Okay.
And so I even have a picture of our person is climbing up into the tree and the parent is doing a flyby, just kind of chattering back and forth with the nestlings.
And that's normal, right? Mom and Dad
Absolutely.
with self-preservation, right? Because I've got to make more if these get ruined.
Right. But there's such a huge investment when they're doing this climbing. The nest, they've incubated them for almost a month, and then they wait till they're 6 weeks old, because then they can thermoregulate. They can regulate their own temperature.
Oh, okay.
And if we did this before that, if it was too hot or too cold, then the babies might not survive.
Gotcha.
So we want to wait until they can regulate their own temperature. So the adults at this point have 2.5 months of investment in that nest.
That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And so the more investment, the more protective and the less likely for abandonment. And so the Game and Fish, they fly, and they can look with their spotting scopes or their binoculars, and by the size of the nestlings, they can tell how old they are, and then they can gauge when it's the right time to go in and do banding.
So this is like a happy medium. They're not too young to where they need mom or dad to be laying on top of them and keeping them either too warm or cool, but they're not too old to where mom and dad are going to be like.
They're not too old, and they're not going to bail out of the nest when we
bail
get
out of the
there.
nest.
That's the big concern.
Okay.
You want to get
gotcha.
them before they have any concept of using their wings.
Okay.
That you don't want them to even know about
Makes
their
sense.
wings.
Okay.
You want them to be these big blobs in the nest, waiting for the next fish to come.
All right.
So if you get there at that point, all they know is they're blobs waiting for fish. And so that's when it's safe. They're not going to bail, because that's tragic. You don't want that to happen when they jump when they're not ready. So they climb up. And it's kind of cool. They put them in a black duffel bag, and then they send them down on a pulley of rope systems to the bottom.
And you're here for this while this is going on?
We are here.
Okay.
And taking pictures and quietly listening and asking questions.
They're coming up on screen while we're talking.
And
just so you know, they're coming up.
See, there it is, sending it down. And it's kind of fun because we get down to the bottom, and there are 2 nestlings. And what they've done, it's really important.
Can I ask you something real quick?
Yeah.
What do they look like?
Well, there's a picture, nestling waiting. And
for people listening on the radio, what do they look like?
They are
Colors.
about the size of a house cat.
Okay.
And they are a blackish gray.
Okay.
The younger they are, the more downy and soft they are. And the older they are, the more sleek, more adult feathers they've begun to get.
Gotcha.
Now, the ones that what's interesting is to handle them safely, A raptor's weapon is, can you guess?
Claws.
It is its feet. A lot of people think it's their bill, but it's not.
So. They're claws.
But to handle them safely, the first thing they do is they hood them. And by putting a hood, it's a leather thing that fits all over their head. It's bulged out so it doesn't hurt the eyes, and it goes over the beak. And by making it dark, they get very quiet.
Okay.
And then, for our safety, we put polar fleece booties on their feet.
Even the young?
Oh yeah, they're going to hold on to something.
Oh, wow.
You know.
Okay.
So we've had them so relaxed they fall asleep when we've got 2 of them.
Oh.
The one will fall asleep waiting to get processed, because you only process 1 at a time.
Okay.
And you have 1 person doing the measurements. And the fun part is we have lots of young biologists, both with the Game and Fish and with the Forest Service. And with their approval, I said, hey, can I bring my bios in? He's like, absolutely, bring your bios in. And we even had some children there that were with the Game and Fish people. Cool. And so it's really good for kids to see this, you know, to see hands-on wildlife management. And so my biologists were just over the moon to be able to hold a bald eagle nestling. And the first thing we do is we take 1 measurement, and that measurement tells us its gender. And you guessed it earlier. What measurement is that?
Wait.
No.
No. I didn't guess it, did I?
It's the width of the
wrist?
tarsal bone.
The tarsal bone.
And there is no overlap between male and female, even in the nestling age. There's no overlap.
Okay.
They're 2 totally different. And you did get this right. Which one's bigger?
The female.
The female is larger.
It tends to be typical for the species.
Yeah,
any
for
species, right?
raptors.
Okay, for raptors.
For raptors.
Okay.
It has to do with bringing food back. Female can bring a bigger food item back if anything happens to the male.
Okay, makes sense.
Right?
All right,
because
he's
the one out with the exposure to risk.
Sure.
He's the one out hunting. And if she's at the nest, if something happens to him, then when she does go out and bring food back, it's a bigger bang for it's fewer trips.
Oh my gosh. That is really cool. Okay.
Also, because if they're 2 different sizes, it's a bigger pantry for them. They can go after more prey items when they're 2 different when the 2 genders are 2 different sizes.
Okay.
But if they were both parents were the same size, they'd be going after it'd be a more limited pantry.
Gotcha.
So we take that measurement, and then the Game and Fish band them, and there's a special crimping thing, and there is a color combination and a right leg and a left leg and a number, and they can tell what year the eagle was born, where it was born, what its gender is, and all of that by reading the combination of the color and the numbers and the left and right of the legs. I don't know the magical formula, but the Game and Fish does. So, okay, so first we measure the leg, and they measure the bill. They measure a couple other things. They check the muscle development on the front of them. And what was interesting was bald eagles lay their eggs a couple days apart, and so there's a little bit of a time lag and age difference in the nestlings, which cannot be good for the second born unless they got a really, I don't mean to be anthropomorphic, but if they're very aggressive and very go-get-'em, then they can hold their own against their older sibling who tends to be a couple days older.
Right.
Which, if you're going to be fledging in 2 months, a couple days is a big head start. What was interesting on this was the younger bird had more down on it, but the younger bird was bigger. It was the female.
So that helped.
It did.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of exciting. That was kind of cool. And so we measure and we band, and then we weigh them to see where they are. The Game and Fish has been weighing eagles for years, and they can put them on the curve on wellness. You know, you do that with your kid. Oh yeah, my kid's really good.
Oh sure, yeah.
So they do the same thing with eagles, with baby eagles.
Okay.
And then another interesting one was we drew blood. The Game and Fish, and I got to hold it down when we did that, and that's for genetics, to see is the Roosevelt bird and the Verde River bird and the lynx and the Lake Pleasant and who's related. So, you know, one of the parents at this nest is banded, and I do not believe the other one is. So we're not sure where that one is from.
Oh, wow.
But maybe if we can compare enough DNA, we can create family trees.
Let's take a break.
Okay.
Yeah, Prescott National Forest wildlife biologist Noel Fletcher is in studio to talk about both bald eagles and peregrine falcons. Both were successful this year over in the Prescott area. Stick around, countywide, back in just a couple minutes.
So you're looking online now? Yeah, great condition. I hate to see her go, but I really just need the cash. Well, the price is still just $1,000, but you have to send the money now, right now. Well, that's why the price is so low. Like I said, I need cash fast. I can't wait on a check or money order. You have to send cash now.
The moment they ask for immediate cash is the moment you know something's wrong. Think before you send money. Learn more at scamawareness.org.
Orkin has pest control down to a science.
When your business chooses Orkin's Precision Protection Program, you get a tailored pest control program for your specific industry and environment.
Your business can benefit from over a century of experience, training, and scientific knowledge that define the Orkin man.
Maximum protection, minimum exposure, backed by one of the industry's most comprehensive guarantees.
Choose your locally owned and operated Northern Arizona Orkin and get more than an exterminator. Get an expert.
Welcome back to Countywide, talking bald eagles and peregrine falcons with Noel Fletcher, wildlife biologist for the Prescott National Forest. And the eagles are down. You were holding one of them down. We got the genetics. We know the genetics.
Yeah, Game and Fish took a blood sample to compare genetics. And then we put them back in the duffel bags, send them back up. We leave, and then my local photographers like to go out and take pictures, and I have a picture either that afternoon or the very next day of the parents back in the nest.
Okay. Does it take them a while to go back to? No, they're like, we got to see what was going on with our babies.
They stayed in the area the whole time. You could hear them calling to them every now and then. You could hear them.
I wonder what they're saying. Reassurance? Or?
You got to think they're saying something parental.
Did they respond at all? The young respond?
A little bit, but not as much. They weren't quite sure what was. When they were on the ground, they were silent.
Okay.
You know, once we get to them in the nest, they make a little bit of noise, but once they're on the ground, they're silent.
The person from Game and Fish that is up at the nest, now what are they doing up there the whole time? Are they measuring the nest, checking to see what's in the nest, where they've been eating?
They're looking to see what's in the nest.
Okay.
What happens a lot is bald eagles pick up sticks to build their nest. And at Lynx Lake, if you're picking up sticks from around the edge of the lake, you could be bringing back fishing line and monofilament. And you know, I was very worried about that because this is a brand new nest. And I'm like, how much monofilament? He's like, none. I went, what?
Oh, that's great, yeah.
So that tells me a few different things. Because we have the recycling.
The recycles.
That tells me people are using them. So that's a good sign.
That's a great point
because
to make.
Monofilament is deadly. Everyone knows how tangled it can get. We've all been on the receiving end.
We've all been fishing, and we're out there, and you cast it, and it's like, oh my gosh, I got this bird's nest. A bird's nest of monofilament. Okay,
right. But those loops, if that gets around even just the toe, and it almost forms like a slip knot, such that when you pull, it goes tighter, You can't pull your toe out of it because it just tightens like a noose.
Sure. Oh, sure.
And if it gets around their foot or their toe, that nestling's never leaving the nest because they can't break it.
Now, I would also think they grow so fast that that could grow right into
Well, it could
their
grow
body.
into it, and
But they're tied there now.
then they're tethered to the nest.
Yeah, they're tethered
so it's
to the
very,
nest,
very serious. So
that's good to hear, though.
we're very excited now. What happened was we did a kind of a very large closure over the bald eagle closure, and then we lifted it all. But they've been seen, they've probably left by now. They usually leave in early July and head up
Time to head north.
to the Dakotas. Really, that's where they go. The headwaters of the, the Mississippi up in there.
How long will it take before these two young maybe fledge their own young someday?
5 years.
Oh, it'll take 5 years before they're at even the point where they do that.
To be reproductively mature.
But they will make the trip back and forth because you've taught me that Arizona is home. These are Arizona bald eagles.
Yes, they are.
They leave in the summer months to go up north, cooler fish.
The original
do their
snowbirds.
thing up there.
There they are.
Original snowbirds, right. Right. So they'll be back though this next year.
They'll be back in about October.
October.
October, November, December. You can see them at Goldwater's a great place to go see them fishing. There's usually only a pair at lynx because the pair won't tolerate other birds, even their own young, in the territory.
Food supply.
Watson and Willow are just to be anthropomorphic golden corral.
Okay.
It's the smorgasbord, the buffet.
Sure.
You've got
all the
fish and waterfowl.
Sure.
Those are the two main food items for the bald eagle. So Willow is an excellent place to go watch them hunt. Watson's a good place to watch them. Goldwater and lynx. Those are the four lakes that the first week in January is the annual bald eagle winter survey. And every January, I organize a volunteer effort between some folks at work and volunteers in the community. And we have people at Watson, Willow, Goldwater, and Lynx from 7 in the morning till 11 in the morning for 4 hours. It's a standardized survey. With Game and Fish is in charge of it. They send us the forms, we fill it out, and then we all go to Zeke's for breakfast and ooh and ah over who saw what.
Awesome.
It's fun.
That's the Eagles.
That is the Eagles. And we have some fun things coming with that. The Game and Fish is exploring opportunities for webcams in the state, and we're one of 2 options.
So if that comes up, you're going to let me know.
Prescott National Forest is very excited about the prospects of being one of the host sites for that.
You really need to be able to go on your computer and click on it and then actually watch the eagles.
The lynx bald eagles.
Watch them do
We're
their
excited
thing.
about it.
Those two will be back to that nest. That's their nest, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
Correct.
let's start on peregrine falcons. We've got like 2 minutes before we have to take our next break. But peregrine falcons were again at Granite Mountain and Thumb Butte.
Yes, they were.
Which is a good thing.
That's
great
very
thing.
good.
Yeah.
And the fun thing is, it was a fun year this year. I partnered with 2 students from Prescott College under the mentorship of actually a professor from ASU, coming at it from a climbing perspective, but also from a curiosity perspective. And they monitored Thumb Butte and Granite Mountain during their spring semester at college and gave us some nice reports. And I think they both learned a lot about natural resources and balancing and just those demands between the climbing and the nesting birds.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Let's take our other break and we'll come back and we'll tell you what happened with the peregrine falcons this last year. We'll have like 3 minutes to do it, so you have to go fast.
I can do
All right.
that.
Prescott National Forest Wildlife Biologist Noel Fletcher in studio today. This is Countywide. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
The Q102.9 plays all the hits.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drizzy Drake.
Ariana Grande.
Maroon 5.
This is Rihanna.
I'm Shawn Mendes.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
Ed Sheeran.
What's up, guys? It's Justin Bieber.
You're listening to The Weeknd.
Start your day with Brian James in the morning. You'll get at least 10 songs in a row during your ride home with Julie Page.
Zach Sang Show.
Catch the Zach Sang Show weeknights 7 to midnight. And Kelly Fox weekends on your home for hit music. The Q102.9 and 104.9 in Prescott and Cottonwood.
Hello, Mr. Hopkins. This is Sue from Disaster Relief. We're calling neighbors statewide to get help for storm victims. Children, lost parents, homes. You can. Oh, thank you. But could you send the money now? The need is urgent. We so appreciate you. It means so much, but it has to be now. It has to be cash. No credit cards, checks, just cash.
The moment they ask for immediate cash is the moment you know something's wrong. Think before you send money. Learn more at scamawareness.org.
Schools have a big problem. Every year, millions of kids come to class with nothing. So teachers end up spending thousands of dollars of their own money just to make sure kids have what they need to learn. I'm the school supply fairy. My assistant and I do what we can. But we could really use your help.
Welcome back to Countywide. Just a few minutes left in the program. Noel Fletcher from the Prescott National Forest, she's the wildlife biologist there, is in studio, back with us today. We've got just a few minutes. We've covered bald eagles pretty extensively.
Yes.
But we could talk for hours about that. But the peregrine falcons, they were back. So tell us what about the success of that one.
Well, it's exciting. We've documented 2 young successfully at Granite Mountain.
2 at each site. That's amazing, isn't it?
It is. It's very exciting. Yeah. We've been monitoring that since, I want to say, well, I came to the Prescott in 1995, so 22 years.
I've been doing this since 93, so
and the peregrines have been nesting there, and so it's exciting to see that still having that success. Now, is it the same pair? I can't answer that.
Do we ban them?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I don't know that the Game and Fish has done that. Now, we talked about bald eagles, and they live into their 20s, like 25, 27 years old. Peregrines will probably live into their mid to late teens, give or take, because they're a smaller bird. But there was also a pair at Thumb Butte, and we're not sure if they fledged or not. That's more of a challenge, keeping people off the top of Thumb Butte when the peregrines are nesting.
Really, that's too bad.
It is. But people like to play up there. It's just challenging. And our trail camera for the bald eagle closure picked up 12 people on the trail, and so we're going to continue to monitor that. And
maybe we should hit this up. It has quite an effect on the animal.
Especially the timing.
Yeah, yeah.
If people are going during incubation, the eggs won't survive. And if they go in that first 6 weeks before the young can regulate their own body temperature, they can either get chilled, which is more likely because it's earlier in the season, from a cold winter, cold spring rain or something like that.
Sure.
Or they could bake if it's really hot. And so
we have those extremes here.
We do.
Just like that,
too. I know. Yeah. And so that's why those closures are put in. It's a balancing act that we do as stewards of public lands. We're managing it for a broad array of interests on the land, and so we're balancing throughout a calendar year what is the best use for that during this particular time. And sometimes it isn't for people. It isn't always for people. The idea is there are people that want those bald eagles and those peregrines to do well, and so we're trying to provide. There's hundreds of miles of trails.
Right.
On the Prescott National Forest.
There's no shortage of trails in the entire Yavapai County area.
You can still hike all the way around, and we're very cognizant to leave the trail around the lake open. We're cognizant to leave the loop trail open at Thumb Butte, so people that's like a conditioning. That's like their daily, exercise. And so we leave that loop trail. All the trails are open. in Granite Mountain. You just aren't supposed to be climbing on a cliff face or going beyond. We're very deliberate. So when we close that one trail for the eagle between the lake and Salida Gulch, it's just because it's too close to the nest for that short period of time.
We just want to bother the adults. Simple as that. Give the adults their chance to fledge their young, and then once that's done, it's opened up again.
It's just a balancing act.
Yeah, we're out of time. Noel, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me,
Great
Paul.
info. Love it. Bald eagles and peregrine falcons. All right, that's today's Countywide. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will talk to you again next time.